So final score, 42 points to 28. What a test match. Absolutely epic. That was an all-timer. Genuinely, when you watch matches from over the years and you talk about your epic test matches and the test matches where, you just think, oh, what a match that was. This will go down as exactly that. Wholesale changes made by Rassie Erasmus, a Scotland team brimming with confidence, a match that was on a knife edge. 42 points, 28, 12 points, or 14 points rather, makes it seem as if maybe things were a bit easy, inverted commas, but they were far from it. And you can just see the flurry of points there towards the end. It was just an absolute privilege to just watch that. It really was, So many big performances from some of the Boks, big moments as well, which we'll need to review. Defense, not good enough. Some line breaks there from the Scottish, which were just not acceptable. And we'll have to do a lot of reviewing. But at the same time, to be able to weather the storm, to have that pressure come onto a Bok team with so little, experience, but be able to respond and get the result is also such a big win. So, I think that is the perfect test match for Rassie Erasmus in terms of information. You've gotten a team that's gotten over the line. They've scored 40 points again. They've conceded 28. Bit of red flags there. But you've pulled through players, who came through with flying colours. Somebody like a Paul de Villiers, what a game he had. Zach Porthen getting his first test try. Quine Horn coming on, initially at fly half, then having to shift to full back, having a solid game. I think Ambrose Appiah on the score sheet, his first time back in the Boks in how many years, getting on the score sheet. Ruan Nokia looking more and more comfortable. Bowen Fenter, I thought was tremendous as well. So a very interesting game. But let's go through it. And I think it was an interesting one because we raced to an early lead at 14-0. And you can kind of see on the screen over there, boom, 7 points. After that, it kind of became all Scotland. They scored 2 tries, one just for half time, and we went in at 14-14. And I said that to a certain degree, that might be a good thing. It might be a good thing that we're going to be extended, that we're going to have to come back and push for this and be tested. We then have scored 3 tries. We weathered a storm when Jason Dixon got a yellow card in the 41st minute. We didn't concede despite a lot of pressure. And then we finally got a bit of momentum and we went bang, bang. And a few minutes later, went bang again. And at 35 points to 14, you're now thinking, job done. Well, not so, because Scotland then went bang, bang themselves. And all of a sudden, 35 points to 28. A little bit sketchy, but a late try from JC Creel, lovely little grubber in behind from Andre Pollard, was enough to get the job done. But it was far from easy, but very entertaining. And as I said, I think a lot of players certainly stepped up today. And some of those, you'll make Rassie's selections for next weekend interesting, because there'll be some players where I think he'll want to give them more game time. There'll be some players where you might sit there saying, maybe you didn't use your opportunity as well as you should have. But let's get into it. So the highest point scorers there, Andre Pollard was given the man of the match, and he can thank Ethan Hooker for that, because he went off, did Andre Pollard, just after half time. I think he was actually hooked. He was having a bit of a shocker, to be brutally honest. And then there was an HI, he came back on, and then he kind of clicked into gear. So maybe a bit of a masterclass, because, as I said, he was struggling before then. 10 points off from him, though, all from the boot, though. On the scoreboard from South African point of view, Evan Roos, Ambrose Appiah, Damian Willems. So what a try that was from him. Jesse Creel, Zach Porthen, and Ulrich Lowe as well. And for the Scots, Matt Ferguson, Ben White, Kyle Rowe, and Josh Bayliss, who had a huge impact when he came on. 81% tackle success rate. That will be a concern for the Boks. It's not a stat the Boks define themselves by. They don't worry too much about tackle success, but I think what they'll be very worried about was first-time tackling and how much Scotland managed to get over the advantage line early on in kind of the first phase. Really, first phase attack, where all of a sudden they're making line breaks and creating those 2-on-1 situations. Those 2 last late tries, to be perfectly honest, just weren't good enough. Possession-wise, Scotland had more of the ball, which is, we're not overly upset with. I think we don't think we mind not having the ball. We've never been a team that loves to have lots of possession, but we want more than that. Interestingly enough, lots of line breaks. You look at the amount of passes Scotland completed compared to us, made more meters as well, again, because of those line breaks that they made. And it was a very, if we go look at, as I said, the kind of what sort of happened, bang, that was just, it was an absolute chaos of points over here. See, yellow card from Ben Jason Dixon over there, and then try, Ulrich Lowe, try, Damian Willemse, we're thinking lovely. We then get another try, bang, Zach Portland. So in the space of 10 minutes, we've gotten flying up, but then all of a sudden, Scotland go 2 tries of themselves. Try over here, and we started not starting to panic, but all of a sudden, we were reminded that this game is far from done. So yeah, the stats tell an interesting story, but the main thing I think is, we look at some of the big performers there, and lots of them will be the Scottish players. Ruan Nokia, what a shit from him, 19 tackles, a really impressive performance from him. He's becoming such an important part of that. But 12 clean breaks, I think, is what the worry will be, and that was what I mentioned, those kind of midfield breaks that Scotland make, where just first time tackling wasn't quite good enough. Scrums were good again, did get some penalties. Maybe not as dominant as always as we like to. I thought the lineouts definitely got a lot better. A couple of early worries. Discipline wasn't great at the time, but we kind of eventually managed to sort of reel it back a little bit. But some phenomenal performances. I mean, Tino Tuipulotu is one of the best players in the world for good reason. But I said defensively, and that's not entirely right. But if we look at the big tacklers over there, Ruan Nokia with 19 tackles, Piers Jeff the Toy, Evan Lewis over there, Damien Williams putting some big shifts there. Paul de Villiers, big shift over there. Andre Pollard did not have a very good day from a defensive point of view, and from an attack point of view. And as I said, not as many carries in Scotland, far fewer passes, far fewer offloads, but we did get the points. That's the main thing. Lots of different players on the try scoring board there. Good to see Grant Williams with 2 try assists. If we look at the meters run over there, Kyle Rowe, Tuipulotu with a lot of them. Paul de Villiers had a good game. Damien Williams right up there as well. And so some really positive signs in a game where there's lots to improve on. But in the end, it's the results what matters. And the result was a Bok win.